Hey everyone, Pratik here. Welcome to the another episode of the 30 CNCF tools every day. In this video, we are going to know more about the one is who is the really game changer for the Kubernetes infrastructure, that is Carpenter. So if you are managing a cluster, AKS cluster, and you are tired of the over provisioning, resources weight or slow scaling, so you will want to stick around it. And in this video, we are going to explore what a Carpenter is, how it works under the hood, and how can you get started with it. So at a high level, Carpenter is an open source tool initially from AWS for Kubernetes that automate node provisioning and deprovisioning exactly when your workloads actually need them. It simplifies the Kubernetes infrastructure with the right node at the right time. But what does it practically mean, right? So rather than manually creating node groups or guessing sizes, Carpenter watches your cluster for unscheduled pod, figure out what compute resources actually you need, and magically it launches the nodes and later delete them when the state is ideal. And the result of it, it improve the availability of the applications, it lower the cost of the cloud billing, and it also less operational workload. But what kind of problem Carpenter actually solve? Right. So the first one is availability and speed. Like with legacy autoscale node group, like for example, node group and cluster autoscaler, you often wait minutes for new capacity. But with the Carpenter, you get the right size node fast and easy. Second one is cost optimization. It can spin down under the utilized node, pick cheaper instance type, including spot instances, and also improve packing of the workload. Third one is like operational simplicity. You define a node pool resources and you set the constraint and let the run less bookkeeping of dozens of node group actually. Let's take an example like for it. If you deploy a modern Kubernetes cluster, and I know many of you on the DevOps platform must have to do that. So Carpenter gives a very cloud native vibe, I can say. So and it let the cluster scale approach rather than manually infra tuning. So it helped to reduce the cost and auto scale. Yeah, I hope you understand what I want to say. So let's see how it works internally. Okay, give me a second. Yeah. So now let's break down how Carpenter actually work behind the scene. And this explained perfectly. On the left of the side of the diagram, you can see the pending pods. So these are the pod that Kubernetes tried to schedule but couldn't find the space for the existing node. Then the Kubernetes scheduler first check the current cluster capacity. But if none of the nodes have enough CPU, memory, or the right constraint, so these pods move into the unscheduled state, as we can see here. So, and this is where exactly Carpenter comes step in. Carpenter watches for these unscheduled pods in real time, and when it detects them, it analyzes what kind of node is required, how much memory is required, how much CPU is required, and what architecture, which zone toleration, everything. So based on that, it create just-in-time capacity. That means it create a new node specifically tailored for that workload. Like it no pre-created node groups, no guessing instance size required. Just the right node at the right time. And on the right hand side of the diagram, you will notice two outcomes. That is optimized capacity. In this, workloads are now placed more efficiently on the ideal node type. And later, since Carpenter continuously look for the consolidation opportunity, so in simple terms, the this whole flow is like the firstly Carpenter check for the pending pod. If the pod is there, the pending pod is there, it goes in the unscheduling, and then Carpenter evaluates the unscheduled pods. Then it launches the just in time nodes, and then it runs the workload, and the cluster becomes the cost optimized. So that is why teams using Carpenter see faster scaling and lower cloud bills. And it doesn't just add capacity, it adds the right capacity at the right time. Now let's talk about a few more concepts you will need when using Carpenter. The first one is actually node pool. Okay, so let's talk about node pool. Node pool is a custom resources you create defining how Carpenter should behave. Example like constraint, expiration, weight, zones, taints, labels. So you can have multiple node pools if you need isolation. For example, GPU versus CPU workload. Another one we have, that is node class. Node class is basically a cloud provider specific configuration. Example, in AWS we have Amazon Machine Image Selector, instance profile, etc. etc. So this sits alongside the node pool, and again we have like layer constraint, This is a similar, like we have constraint at the node pool level and the pod specific level also. So and then Carpenter uses them to find a match of it. And again we have disruption modes, like it helps you to compute healthy and cost efficient. And again we have cloud provider integration. Although Carpenter was developed by AWS and it has a deep CKS support, but it is also designed for the other cloud provider like Azure and GKS. So in short, Carpenter is powerful, but as with the many infra automation tool, you still need observability and guardrails. Here is the few best practices from my experience and what the community recommends here. First one is ping AMI for production. Like on AWS, choose known good AMI rather than rolling latest untested one. It decreases the production risk. Second one is accurate resource request. If your quad requests widely high CPU memory, they will force large or expensive instance. Make sure you are right sizing. Another one is monitor spot in interrupt behavior. Like if you use a spot instance, ensure your workload tolerate interruption or fall back gracefully. And another one is like start small but measure impact. Like deploy for non-critical workload first, then monitor the cluster scaling behavior, pod latency, cost, and then deploy on the production. In short, we can say Carpenter is powerful, but as with any infra optimization tool, you still need some observability for it. As we know, of course, no tool is simply perfect. No tool has that kind of magic. But here are some few things you need to aware of the Carpenter because it is newer than some traditional autoscaler. Certain use cases may be missing or still evolving. If you have very static, predictable workloads, always the same size or constant load is of the application, have the application, then a managed node group with a fixed size might be suffice and be simpler for you, not the Carpenter. In this, you still need to configure correctly, like subnet, insta profile, IAM permission, tagging, etc. misconfiguration, which can lead to the unsettled pod or a cost suddenly increases. In this, if you weight pros and cons and test in your environment, you will find out when Carpenter is a strong fit or when a hybrid model might be the best for you. Alright, that's the wrap of the Carpenter. If you are running Kubernetes cluster, especially on AWS AKS, it is absolutely worth checking out. You will likely see faster pod scheduling, better cost efficiency, and fewer manual infra attack. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And we check out other upcoming videos. If you have any questions, don't forget to drop them in the comments. I will do my best to answer and help you adapt this in your workflow. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.